Welcome to the Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James, and this is day 5 through 8 of NEWbruary, where I watch a new movie every day for the month of February. The last video was great. I had a lot of fun watching new movies, and I inadvertently did something this week that I wasn't planning on doing, because the way I set out to do these videos is, as well as watching a new movie, is to watch 4 different kinds of movies per video, like a romance, action, comedy, and mystery. And I may throw a couple other genres in there, except for horror, because I like to go all year without horror until October. So this week I didn't do that. I did 4 same genre picks, action films. I ended up watching Liam Neeson in Non-Stop, the prequel, sequel 300, Rise of an Empire, the Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow starring Tom Cruise, and as well as the key movie for this video, John Wick starring Keanu Reeves. I have a lot to say about each of these films. I'm going to try to keep this video a little shorter than the last video. It was like 20 minutes long. I'm going to try to keep it a little shorter than that, but I'm going to try to tell you everything that you need to know about these films. And first up is... the first action movie that I watched was Non-Stop, starring Liam Neeson, where he plays a federal air marshal on a flight from the United States to London when he starts getting text messages saying that every 20 minutes a passenger will die if $150 million isn't wired to this account, and he gets the account number as well. But so he kind of does his duty. He starts to kind of eliminate possibilities, and when people start to die, that's when the situation really starts to become real. Because at first he thought someone was just playing a prank on him and hacked into the little server or the little Wi-Fi or whatever you want to call it, and playing tricks on him. But once people start dying, that's when the situation becomes real. And it's a fun movie. I enjoyed this movie from beginning to end. There's some twists and turns throughout the movie that I will not give away, but they are kind of unexpected, and it's like, oh wow, and then there's some lingering thoughts throughout the movie, like, okay, why would they put so much emphasis on this part, and then they end up going back to it. So it's like, oh, that's so cool, and it's a fun movie, and they try to tease you here and there, like this is the person who did it, but they ended up giving a really good reason why this person isn't. But I always thought, like, maybe they're just making that story up. But yeah, it was fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a good action movie, especially Liam Neeson fighting some people in the bathroom of the airplane. It's a close quarter combat scene, and those two are it's a really cool choreographed fight scene. And then with him doing his Sherlock Holmes, deducing the situation with all these 200 plus passengers on this airplane. It's just fun. It was just a fun movie to watch from start to finish. My only problem was the ending. The ending was okay. I mean, the reasoning behind all this was kind of wasn't really a letdown. It just kind of like, I maybe wish there was some bit of information early on in the movie or something. I might have missed it, but maybe there was something a little more to kind of give these two, the people who are involved, more reasoning, like, oh, okay, that totally makes sense why it's going on, instead of just like coming out right at the end and saying it. And I wish there was kind of more of a build up for the reasoning why they were doing it. I thought that would have been a lot cooler. So that's really about it I'm going to say about this movie. I enjoyed it. It's good, at least for one viewing, because once you see it, kind of like the twists and turns don't become as impactful. So that's it. That's Non-Stop, starring Liam Neeson. The second action movie that I watched was the prequel sequel 300, Rise of an Empire. The reason why it's a prequel sequel is because it takes place before, during, and after the events of the first movie, 300, where a good portion of the first part of the movie is before the Battle of 300. The middle part of the movie is during the Battle of 300. and the last act of the movie is after the Battle of 300. So it was fun. Because if you know the first one, you'll like, okay, that's where the timeline is in this movie. If you haven't seen the first one, they do kind of help you along a little bit, but for the most part, you have to kind of know the first movies, what's going on in the first movie in order to get this. I kind of found myself lost a little bit, but they kind of help you along, and so they kind of refresh your memory a little bit here and there. So, and like when it's like, oh, the Spartans have fallen, and they kind of cut to the battlefield with all the fallen Spartans with all the arrows kind of sticking out of them. So, but he's back to the plot of this one is because the plot of this, I have to tell you in sequence. The prequel part of this movie follows the main Blue Cape, the Athenian, who kills Darius, or however you pronounce his name, which is Xerxes' dad, and it's kind of like the narration is like he should have killed Xerxes, and so all this wouldn't have happened. The fall of the 300 Spartans and the big naval battle. So if he would have made that choice to kill Xerxes as well, along with his dad, all this wouldn't have happened. So then it cuts to this main Athenian kind of meeting up with the Spartans, asking like, will you join us or lend us some ships or whatever, and to go to battle. And like, no, and that's at that time Sparta is marching towards the Hot Gates and taking on the Persian army. And then that's where the second act of the movie is, where they kind of fight on the water, and as well as in your mind, that the Battle of 300 is going on as well. And then after the Spartans have fell in the first movie, spoiler, that's where the third act of this movie kind of comes into play, where more Persians come out of nowhere, and as well as Sparta the Spartan army kind of comes in to help the Athenians to really put a hurt on the Persian army. So it was fun. I liked it. The blood and guts were great. The stylization of the film is great. There's a lot of slow-mo, because Zack Snyder wrote it, so it was fun. I enjoyed it. Was it a warranted sequel? Maybe not, but I don't regret watching it. It was a fun movie to watch. So, and there you go. That is 300, Rise of an Empire. The third movie that I watched for this video is Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. Well, technically, Live, Die, Repeat isn't part of the official title, but they do add it to like the DVDs when it came out, because the poor marketing for this movie, because this movie was actually really good. I really liked it because it follows Tom Cruise, who is this PR man for the officer for the army, and he's trying to give the public some sense of hope that we're going to fight against these aliens who have taken stake over all of Europe, basically. And so it's like, guess what? This is what we have, these new jackets or whatever they're called, and they're pretty much like mechanical skeletons. And so, like, guess what? We're going to go in the battle and fight them, and we're going to win. But so he's kind of meeting with his commanding officer, and it's like, guess what? You're going in the battle too. And he's like, nuh-uh. And he ends up getting tasered, and then he wakes up at this base. And that's where the repeat comes into play, because this first part is really fun because he's kind of seeing the environment, and this is where everything kind of starts to repeat itself. Like when he first meets this one officer who kicks him, and he calls him a maggot, and then he hands him his clothes, and Bill Paxton kind of tells him that he's been branded as a traitor and a deserter, as a deserter. So he's thrown into J Squad, which is basically like the losers. And so they go to battle, and they immediately get slaughtered. Every single one of them gets slaughtered, and it's just horrible. But during this battle, he comes across a new alien it's an alpha. Through dialogue throughout the movie, they say that you don't see him very often, and so he killed one of them, and his blood kind of mixed with his blood, and so he gets the power of time control. So every time he dies, it resets to the following day, where he wakes up on getting kicked and being called a maggot every single time. And through trial and error, he kind of starts to gain skills through another officer, another soldier who had that ability, but lost that ability, and so those two kind of team up and they kind of try to find the main alien to kill, and it's fun. It was a fun movie. Each for the first hour and so is really fun. It's just him kind of trial and error and getting off the beach, and it was really funny. And Tom Cruise is really great in this movie. Emily Blunt is in this movie as well. She plays like the lead female soldier. She's really good in this movie as well, and as well as the supporting cast. Bill Paxton and all of them are just really fun in this movie. The ending is great. I mean, this whole movie was very well done. It should have done better at the box office. Just poor marketing. It was so fun to watch. I found myself laughing quite a bit throughout this movie, and as well as like, oh man, that's so cool, and it was a really fun movie. The last movie for this video, and it's the key movie for this video, is John Wick, starring Keanu Reeves. I love this movie. It stars Keanu Reeves as John Wick. He is this ex-assassin whose wife has succumbed to cancer and dies, and her last dying gift to him was this dog, a Daisy, and it's a little beagle dog, and all him interacting with this dog is just so cool. And it's really great bit of filmmaking. It just, you actually kind of like love this dog as much as he does, and just the short amount of time that he has had him. And so out one day after, because he has nothing for the dog, so he has to go out and buy a bunch of toys, which you see stacked all the way to the ceiling in the back of his Mustang. And so he stops to get fuel, and another car pulls in, and it's just a bunch of bad guys, and it's one of them is Theon, or how you pronounce it, from the Game of Thrones. So he's like, nice car, and he starts admiring the car and admiring the dog, and he kind of speaks Russian to him, or whatever. Yeah, I think it's Russian, and John Wick speaks it back to him, and he's like, oh, okay. And so they kind of have a little exchange of words there, and so he goes back home, and settled in, and sometime in the middle of the night, the dog wakes up and goes downstairs, and he starts barking, and it's because they have broken into his house, and they attack John Wick, and they ultimately kill his dog, which just sets him off. He immediately gets into like John Wick mode, and he goes and tracks down his car, finds out who stole it and who beat him up and stuff like that, and finds out it's his ex-boss's son. And so that doesn't sit very well with John, the dad of who beat him up. And he even's like, do you know who you just messed with? And he's like, it's John Wick. And he's like, who cares? I'll deal with him. He's like, no, you won't. No, you won't. And so throughout that movie, that's his main goal, is to get back, or kill the guys who killed his dog and took his car. And so he's fighting off bad guys left and right. And it doesn't get old. He literally just fights off waves of bad guys, and he disposes of them in expert fashion and kills them all, and it's like, oh. And what's really great about this is that he is an expert marksman, and I really love, that's one of my favorite things about Hitman movies, is when you actually have someone who can shoot. I get so mad when people just shoot to be shooting. It's like, come on, there are people out there can shoot a quarter through a circle through the middle of a quarter, and they can barely hit someone who's big as a person, and they can't do that. Like, oh, come on. So that's what makes this really fun, is because you got this guy who's a very expert marksman. If he points the gun at you, you're pretty much dead, and so it's fun. And they incorporate reloading and him kind of using various techniques of like martial arts, and it's just so much fun. It was a fun movie to watch, and the reasoning behind it is a very legit reason. He was an ex-assassin. He was out of the game, and they messed with the wrong guy. And so William Dafoe's in it. You may recognize him as the Green Goblin from the first trilogy of Spider-Man movies, and then various other films as well, and Boondock Saints. And And the main bad guy, his dad, he is from the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy. So he plays Mikhail Blomkvist. So everyone in this movie is a really good actor, and even Keanu Reeves, he was excellent in this movie, and he has some really cool dialogue as well. When he gets mad, he's like, "Oh, you just have to watch." So it was fun. All the action was really well choreographed. It was just action-packed, bloody, but it wasn't like It wasn't like 300 bloody. It was like gunshot bloody, and it was just fun. Then there's some really cool. What else this movie adds to it? It just adds a lot of kind of like, what was this John Wick character like before you met him and before he went off? It was just fun, and he just wants to get back to kill the people who killed his hope. That's basically what that's the only spoiler I will give, is that the reasoning behind this is because the son of the bad guy, he took his last remaining hope of humanity and whatever you want to call it, and he's like, you know what, he's like, everyone keeps asking me if I'm back, and I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back, and it was just like, it was a cool moment. So it was fun. Like, I know I keep saying this, it was a fun movie. I was engrossed all the way through. I didn't feel like it was dragged on any bit at all. It was just like, this is fun. I'm enjoying this 110%. So there's some cool rules kind of going on, because he stays in this hotel, and it's like, no business is to be conducted on this grounds, which has consequences for a couple characters. And so it was just great. I liked it. The world that this movie set in is awesome, and it just has a lot. It's just fun. So, and there you have it. Those are the second set of 4 movies that I watched for this NEWbruary project, and I enjoyed every bit of these movies in their own ways. Nonstop was great mystery. You got 300 was great, just blood and guts gore movie. You got Edge of Tomorrow, which was great. It felt like a video game. It was just really fun to watch because he kept doing this Groundhog's Day kind of thing. It was just really fun. And then you got John Wick, which was just a great revenge action movie, and it was just fun. All these movies were fun. They all deserve at least one viewing. So that's it. My name is Max James, and I'm going to go geek out.